It's coaster time. You ready?
Trying to.
We're at Silver Dollar City. I'm excited. I've never been here before, but I've been to Dollywood, and they're both owned by Hershen. And I love Dollywood, so this should be awesome. We'll be talking about what it's like to be here during COVID, and also do a trip report of everything we experienced today. So looking forward to it. You can see all these dots that lead to this tent, which I assume is where they're gonna take our temperature, make sure we're wearing a mask, and also ask a few questions, probably about like if we've been around anyone with COVID, things like that.
During your visit, be sure to follow social distancing guidelines, keeping 6 feet apart from folks around you.
They basically said, do any of the questions when you walk in apply to you? And we just said no, and that was it. And they took our temperature, and they gave us these little wristbands, and that's about it to get in. So it's pretty easy. So we're in line for the time traveler, and you can see they have blue dots on the ground to separate parties. So like if you're together with like a family or whatever, you just follow these blue lines on the floor, and people seem to be abiding by it. I mean, you can see the people behind us are at their blue dot, and we're going to move up to ours now.
Welcome, travelers. You have chosen to participate in an exciting time travel experiment. Please step into the seats in front of you and ensure all loose articles are stowed away or placed in a cupboard.
So we just rode Time Traveler, the max spinning ride.
Oh, crazy.
Awesome. It's so much better than the spinning coaster at Worlds of Fun. Just so much different. I think it has two launches on it. Just don't, make sure you eat before you go on it. You'll get a little dizzy at the end of it.
I'm feeling a little dizzy.
So Powder Cake is by far the slowest line in the park, and I think it's because, one, it's one train operations. They also seem to be doing a really good job of sanitizing each train, so like actually take the spray and wipe on the seats and restraints. It definitely feels like the longer we're here, the more that people aren't following the rules. So like stepping between the blue dots, or just like not wearing their mask at all. Is there anything else that you thought?
No, that's it.
Okay, well.
Put me on the spot.
Some fun facts about this ride. So this is originally a Premier Rides water coaster. It used to be called Buzzsaw Falls, and then S&S Sansai did it into an air launch coaster, but it's not a full thrust air 2000 like Hypersonic XLC in Virginia or Dododumpa in Japan, but it's kind of like a mix between those two rides. There's also, you can see the old water coaster train car on top of the roof, and there's also a bit of old water coaster track in the queue line, which is pretty cool. What's also interesting about this ride is that it has 3 different track types. There's a transfer track that takes you from the station to the launch area track. Then it has that compressed air launch piece of track, and then in the middle of the ride there's a train lift that will take you back to the station. So there's 3 different track types, which is pretty cool on this ride as well. Plunge was probably the best log flume that I've ever been on.
It was really long.
It was long, got super wet. It was awesome. Like I am absolutely soaked.
It's both wet.
We're both soaked. So awesome log flume. If you get a chance to ride it, definitely do it. I think the only other log flume that I say would compete with that is La Scoot at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. But I think they're different enough. But this one's really, really good. we just finished riding Wildfire, which is awesome. I think one of the coolest things is because it's so scenic around here and you're so high above the water, the top of the ride seems way higher than it actually is.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful view when you're at the top.
Yeah. And so we actually have to ride this one twice because the first time the wait was like an hour, but the second time we only waited, what, 20 minutes or so?
Yeah, 20 minutes. 20,
And
50
so
minutes.
I taught Suze the difference between riding in the front and then riding in the back. And so what did you like better?
The back was better because you felt the twists and turns more and the whippy lashes.
Yeah. Well, like the front's great because you get the great view and you get a lot of the airtime coming over some of the hills, but the back is great because you get a lot of the whips, especially around this well-timed cobra roll. So it was cool to see Suze's reaction between riding in the front of the train and in the back of the train. So this is definitely one of the best here. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's yours, right?
Yep.
The Fire in the Hole is a cute little dark ride.
Yeah, it is.
Suze
Twists and
doesn't,
turns.
Suze doesn't usually like dark rides, but that was fun.
Yeah, it was nice.
There's a splash at the end, but you don't really get wet at all.
No.
So if you're worried about that, don't worry about it. So the people in front of us for the mine train took their mask off, and so they have to sanitize the rows. So while it's annoying, but it's still really good that at least they do that, just for sake of safety. So good on Silver Dollar City ops to notice that.